Hello, it's just David here with my weekly message. I'm out and about, so I had a bit of a break while I'm in the car. So I thought I'd just record something, as you can these days. So there's a lot of sport on at the moment. I mean, crucially, of course, the Tour de France starts on Saturday. By the time you see this, it will have started. Um, Also, there's a football tournament going on of some sort, the Euros, and yeah, whatever your sport, there's lots of things. Obviously, it's peak time of the sport. Wimbledon just coming up, a lot of Test cricket being played, etc., etc. And we'll be cheering on our favourite teams, and which is great. You know, I've sort of always enjoyed sports. Have my favourite teams. I like to watch England play, and hope they do well. At the moment, we're still in the Euros, so hopefully we still will be by the time you get this video. Of course, there are some people who are get a bit disturbed about some of the if you like, the dark side, and there's certainly true. I mean, I'm afraid football fans in particular, there has been a slightly ugly side to that. It has and continues to attract in some countries certain far right groups. And I wanted to reflect on that and think about, there are some people who are a bit concerned about perhaps a bit, seeing, the St. George's flag everywhere and the rhetoric of it. It doesn't bother me, but I can understand some of the sentiments when they get a bit extreme. I should say, having watched some of the Euro games, football itself doesn't seem to represent that. I mean, whatever you think of the kneeling and stuff, it seems to me football is keen to promote a good image of itself of driving out things like racism and homophobia, and that I think must be applauded all round. And also, just on the individual level, I think probably because a lot of the clubs play in various other European competitions for their clubs, and indeed in the Premier League for their clubs. And what's noticeable, of course, is actually, particularly once the game is finished, I mean, there's often great camaraderie between the team players from opposite sides. I say particularly because, at a club level, football is increasingly international. So you may well find that your Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool teammate is playing against you in a national team, but they're your friend day to day, so you're not going to get some great vendetta against them. It's very similar in cycling, actually. What's often said, I mean, cycling obviously is a much poorer sport. There's fewer professionals, and contracts are quite short. 2 or 3 years is normal for the teams. So obviously, in the heat of racing, they get very excited in their teams. But it's often said actually that their major loyalty is to the body of professional riders rather than their teams, because if they behave very badly or aggressively towards other riders or get a bad reputation, they know in 2 or 3 years' time it's very likely those riders will be their teammates. So people just know it's not in their interest to do it, and it's true in lots of other sports. Particularly once the game is over, whatever it is, once people have calmed down, people are obviously very reasonable. I mean, as I say, I'm a great fan of sport. I think it helps with, social development, and it helps with cooperation between nations. And I just wanted to think about that a bit, and particularly from a Christian point of view, and think also about patriotism. Therefore, I mean, I support England in cricket, rugby, football, and unashamedly, that's great. It's my country. I love my country, and I want them to win and do well. And I want to think about when that tips over into something nasty, because I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's perfectly innocent. But I recognise still, it can tip over into something else. And I want to think about that. And I think it's not that difficult to understand, is it? But I think it's a bit like families and stuff. So, within your own family, obviously, I look after my relatives, my elderly relatives, my the children, if you have them or whatever. And obviously I've got more concern of them than somebody else's children or elderly relatives. because they're mine. They're my son or my mother or my brother or whatever. Um, but the point is that for the majority of people, the fact that you love your family actually enhances your understanding that other people love their families. So, you'll understand that someone else is your friend will love their relatives, will spend time and care looking after them. You don't expect them to come and look after your relatives, and they don't really expect you to go and look after their relatives. But nonetheless, you each recognize in the other that sort of, mutual care that one needs to have. Now, of course, that isn't always purely the case. I mean, there are some people who are so sort of sucked into their own family, as it were, that it's their family, right or wrong, against the world, and that's not a very nice attitude. I mean, I have come across it. I remember once, again, not in a parish anywhere near here, but I was taking a funeral where a mother who's obviously very loved by many of her children had died, and she had several children, and one of the sons lived at home. He seemed a very quiet, nice chap, and got on well with him. And he said, "Well, my brother wants to read a sort of little thing at the funeral," and I said, "Oh, that'd be lovely." Thinking, when it came to it, I kind of realised that the rest of the brothers had rather left this other brother at home because they had gone off to lead the sort of the local criminal gang, really. And really, it was a bit disturbing because the kind of force of his eulogy was well, our family was right and we hate everybody else, and it was slightly embarrassing because I thought, well, it's not really what we want to hear in church. But it does show you how, it can tip over into something quite ugly. And I think that's true in sort of this sort of nationalism debate, as it were, that for most of us, I can understand that, I support England, and somebody else might support Germany or France or Portugal or whatever, or in cricket, Sri Lanka or India, and that's fine. And we get up and we get excited, and sometimes perhaps we get a bit hot-headed and bad-tempered, and we boo and we cheer. But actually, when it's all over, that's fine. That's part of the sport. That's great. We accept that. I understand why they love their country. It doesn't mean I want to do them harm or invade them or be prejudiced against them or anything else. In fact, quite the opposite. In fact, what it engenders me, and what I feel towards my country, they feel towards theirs. So I understand it, actually. So it means I'm likely to be more sympathetic to their love of country and more respectful of it. It's just that it's a different relationship than I have with my country. And I think the same is sort of families and churches and anything else in life, in human beings, that it's fine. Obviously, you have more of a duty of care and love and service to your own family than somebody else's. But the point is, generally, it should enhance your understanding that other people love their families and love their children and look after their relatives. It's not a matter of you against them. It's just, this is my family, that's your family, this is your country, this is your country, this is my tribe, this is your tribe, etc., etc. This is my team, this is your team. And each of those things, as I say, enhances and encourages an understanding between people that, we do have different families, we do support different teams, we do belong to different countries. We can be patriotic, we can be family loving, but actually, by doing that in a good way, it enhances the respect, as I say, that we have for other people, and therefore kind of the whole global family in the end can live together better, because I understand that what I want for my children, somebody living in a very poor part of the world wants for their children. It's more or less the same. So that's my reflection on sport, and all this sport going on. And I think, therefore I do encourage you to support the team. I mean, support England. I mean, maybe you're a different, you have a different team, but, it's fine to support it. That's great. And that's brilliant. I don't think we need to be embarrassed or worried about that. And all we need to do is say, at the end of the game, I understand that other people support their team with equal fervour. And actually, that can make for good, healthy, fun competition, which everybody can enjoy, and without needing to have that sort of really nasty dark side that sometimes these things do. So enjoy it all, support your team, and yeah, England are going to win, obviously. Thanks.